through learning about the Tarrant County area from a political sense so that I can help make sustainability a main focus for our area. And I will go ahead and pass it over to, let's see, Janet.
Hello, I'm Janet. I retired last year. I've been always very pro-environment, and when Chayton first was talking about sustainability, it intrigued me, so I looked up the UN 17 faves. And I think it's really a nice platform, and I think that we need to spread the word and get more people educated about it, and just thought this was a great place to start.
I'm glad to hear it, and thanks for being here.
Sure.
We will go ahead and pass it to Aaron.
Okay, I think everybody can hear me. My name's Aaron. I currently am an environmental scientist at an engineering firm. My background is in undergrad in environmental science and also my master's in plant and soil science. And I kind of feel that the industry and the title is misleading. So I really want to get back to kind of my roots of like why I went into my degree and things. And I think that starts at a local level. And so I've started to get more involved in doing things around me that I can actually see a tangible benefit. So yeah.
Awesome. And thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Carol.
Me? Oh, my story's a weird one. So back the first part of March, I met this kid in a bar. Anyway, we became friends pretty quickly. And yeah, I'm talking about Chayton. Chayton sold me, and I turned around and sold Deborah. And that's how we got to where we are today. My role is not necessarily from an environmental standpoint, although Chayton did get me to start recycling 3 times as much as I ever have in my life. But as a parliamentarian, to make sure the committee stays within the guidelines of what the committee's trying to do, and to keep this committee connected with the state parties committee. So that's kind of my role here.
And thank you very much for joining us, Carol. And I'm also glad you're recycling more. That's definitely always a massive plus. Let's see, Diana.
Hey everyone. So I'm a SD12 SDEC person, and I got involved because, well, one, Carol mentioned to me on the phone whenever I was starting my campaign for SD12 SDEC that, hey, there's an environmental sustainability group. And I was like, really? Oh, that's amazing. Because I really have always been pretty involved in my local community at getting trees for our neighborhood and improving parks and areas where there's more green space for people. So that's always been very important to me, as well as picking up trash. Silly as that sounds, but I actually run trash campaigns in my neighborhood to pick up the trash, and I call it picking up the trash in the hood. And we get out our bags and we pick up trash, and just to help make ourselves a little bit more green. And also, I'm always been a big advocate of recycling. I think it's very important. It's not only is it important, it's required if we want to sustain our way of living. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. But I am an unlikely environmentalist, I will share with you and be very candid, is I work for an oil and gas company, which I know people are like, what? But it wasn't always so. And I actually almost didn't take the job because the way my beliefs lined up. But when I started talking to him, I thought, I can either sit at the table and be part of the decision-making that can help improve lives, or I can just not be a part of the decision-making and try to tackle it from the outside. So I chose to tackle it from the inside. And the company I picked is making strides in what we do. They work more in pharma crude oil and gas, which is the IV tubes that you use that keep people alive. The only things that's made of right now is crude oil. But there's things that can be improved. And I've been an advocate within my own company and a loud supporter of all of our biofuels that we've changed one of the refineries to 100% biofuels, which is in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So there's changes that are happening within the industry, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And I'm also glad to be a part of this group.
And thank you very much for being here. It's actually hearing your viewpoints from changes from within the system is kind of like the beautiful part of what we're also doing here, is kind of that idea of working within the currently existing political framework in order to make sure that we're actually instantiating change.
Yep, and that's my goal, is to try to keep it real. You know? So, because believe me, I have a bumper sticker from my Sierra Club days that's on the back of my car that says trees are the answer. And believe me, I get some corporate executives kind of giving me the eye sometimes. And I'm like, hey, you hired me.
Yeah, really.
So that's my story.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Lisa.
Unmute myself. I'll also let you see me for just a short period of time. There we go. So I decided to run for Congress mainly because I'm a scientist and I got tired of scientists being sidelined by this administration and seeing the devastating effects that it was having, and decided maybe it was time to start working on from the inside. Scientists are being ignored mainly because I just don't think we have scientific representation in Congress. And obviously, environmental concerns are one of my top priorities. Looking at it, there are a lot of things that we can do to maintain sustainability. And a lot of it is things that a lot of people are actually interested in. It's just getting that momentum and getting it started and getting a process for it. So I don't plan on being terribly active on the committee. I just want to be tuned in and knowing what's going on, so that hopefully come January, when it's time to start making some changes, we're all plugged in together to get these things done.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And let's see. Heather.
Hey, everybody. So I moved to the area from Tulsa 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years. And I've always always been interested in environmental issues, always recycled, had an electric car for a while. It's kind of just always been a part of my life. And how I kind of found this group was the beginning of the year. I just decided, you know what? I need to put up or shut up with the current political situation. It's time to get active. So I started showing up to some of the local Democratic groups and got talked into being a precinct chair. So, okay, so did that. And then I just found out about this group and thought, oh yeah, this aligns right with my interests. And I work, I'm an engineer by background, and that's not currently what I'm doing. I work in government compliance, weird, but in aviation. So yeah, and there's so many things we could do, talking about different things. That somebody brought up the trees. Trees are always a good one. The plastics issue. American Airlines just got rid of straws on flights. I think that was a very positive step. Personally, I'd kind of like to know if my city's recycling, like where does it really go? The solar, I'm tired of the people coming to my door. I'd like kind of a reputable solar company. So, you know, there's so many things I think would be great, just little steps we could do. It all helps.
Definitely. And very glad you're here. Hina, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Press right. So my name's Hina. I'm a graduate student at UNC Health Science Center. I'm in the MHA program, so health administration. And sustainability for me is really just about healthcare. So I'm just interested in learning what more can I do. At one point, I want to be a project manager at a hospital. So going forward, I want everything to be more sustainable. So I'm just ready to learn whatever y'all have to teach me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming. And Stan.
I'm here. So, as far as sustainability is concerned, I really feel like that DFW and particularly Fort Worth is not super far along in approaching this effort. I really feel like that they've tried a few little things, kind of dip their toe in the water, but I don't really feel like they're very far along compared to other parts of the country. And when I saw that the county was looking into this, I was excited because I think that the ability to move the needle may very well come from political organizations in the area. At some point, I think if we can find any sort of consensus on certain aspects with the other side, that it would be nice for us to come together, and that actually maybe can kind of be a bridge, a means of not always being so contentious. But again, I really feel like that there's a tremendous potential to do a better job in several different facets of sustainability, and that we can look at what other areas have done, some of their best practices, and maybe begin to apply them here, not have to reinvent the wheel, not have to start from scratch.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's kind of, there are a lot of efforts going on right now across the board. And again, one of the things that's happening within the local area Sierra Club is that we've started a small committee to create a sustainability plan for the city of Fort Worth. And I'm hoping in the future to be able to work with all of you on kind of fleshing that out further. Our committee is getting a lot done at the moment, but we're going to be doing a community engagement phase that will be focused on reaching out to everyone that's not directly affiliated with the city and ensuring that they're able to have their words put in before we actually give it to the city to have them do their course of public comment, which doesn't always work.
I apologize. At some point, I would like to know what the current thinking is on what some of the most, I don't know how to put this, the most useful or important sustainability efforts or projects that there are, the ones that are most impactful or that get the most buy-in from people. Like, for example, this just off the top of my head, there's a ton of pavement, you know what I mean? A ton of asphalt, a ton of parking lots. And I don't know that that's good for the environment or a sustainable thing. And yet, I don't know where that fits in terms of the hierarchy, in terms of importance. Is that way down low, or is that something that, and also, is that one that people would buy into, and that, well, we need roads and we need bridges, and yes, but all of those things aren't necessarily great for the water, or they're not necessarily great for the land. They're not necessarily, you know, they're almost like a man-made barrier. Anyway, that was just one that again, I don't know where that falls in the, is that in the top 100, in the top 1,000, or is it nowhere? And to know what those maybe 5 or 10 things are that a lot of other areas think are important, and that we can, or maybe we can find one that's unique to our area, but that we want to highlight and work on because it can have a great impact here locally.
Yeah, and those are actually ways that I hadn't really considered looking at in the past. So the idea of figuring out specific things that are good buy-ins to start, considering that there are always going to be some things that will be more difficult to effectively handle when it comes to implementing them, because people will be against it, or you'll have a difficult time getting buy-in simply because of cost or something else along those lines. So that kind of go back to the idea of the asphalt. I'm not 100% sure where that stands in ranking either. I will say that kind of in line with Diana's idea of increased green spaces in areas. Less asphalt is always better, and it does create impermeable barriers that exist. So like the roads and parking lots kind of act to help increase floodplains because they don't allow the water to seep in and force it off to other locations. I do know right now that the city of Fort Worth is undergoing like a reassessment of roadways in the area and are considering a storm wastewater plan. And they're considering budgeting a small considering the city budget, but I think of like 1.4 million or so to start investing in doing it. It might have been 1.4 billion. It's been a while since I read the article for the actual statistics, but they were looking at sites across the Fort Worth area and determining within currently broken down roadways or areas where you're lacking effective drainage through streets, what they need to be doing. So that could be, I know when you're starting to examine large scale, like redoing the roads from asphalt, that's going to be a very large issue to deal with. You're kind of having to fight our system of understanding for how exactly everything functions when you're making the roads, because when you're looking at infrastructure development, that becomes kind of a large issue due to simply the high overhead costs, the fact that materials that currently exist are not, like the ones that would be beneficial are going to be very, very high cost because they're still all, as far as I've seen, in test phases. And I know, however, that there could be some local area resources. So say we were to try contacting or partnering with, if this is still a thing, I don't remember because I haven't checked with UTA recently, but UTA had a program that was focused on concrete science. And the whole concept was ways they could build more permeable roadways that were also still structurally sound, and still relatively low cost. And as far as I know, that hasn't really gone anywhere. Or if it has, it's been lesser known simply because it's municipal based, and that's always typically less known about. So to kind of lead off that, I've gone ahead and in the shared document I posted, came up with figuring out like the main idea of top 5 sustainability measures that would have easy buy-ins. And then I'm also going to have to say that green spaces are going to be a large thing that we'll all want to see. Does anyone else off the top of their head, when they kind of go outside or when they're on their way somewhere, that they kind of notice something that you're like, this doesn't need to function like this, but for some reason it does, and it falls within the confines of sustainability? Is there anything that anyone sees or kind of thinks about immediately?
Hey, this is Erin. Just from my perspective, and I think the project you're referring to and for the Fort Worth, I think our company is working on part of it. It sounds very familiar. But just from working with a lot of engineers and a lot of stormwater engineers, a lot of people, their first instinct and what their training is to go with hard armoring, which means those concrete wraparounds around pillars and spaces. So my first thought is just working with the city is just type of breaking out or codifying some capacity of that not being the first response. This is kind of, I know, not tangible a whole lot, but converting more of that armoring and protection and the gabions and things like that that they put in to green engineering practices because unless pushback or thought processes change within that capacity, you're going to have a lot more of that concrete lined stream channels and concrete lined ditches and pathways that you see a lot that is not super aesthetically pleasing, but it's just very simple for them to do.
Right. Yeah, and then I guess that does always factor back into cost, because it's always going to be, I don't think green spaces are too much more of an upkeep, and I do like the idea of kind of concrete lined and then you fill in the rest with actual green space, especially because you can grow a lot of things in a small space. That would also be a really good just project planning, generally speaking. And I also added that, so that's within, put that under the kind of just header of stormwater, because it is, I know, going to be a big issue. I mean, I know all of us will probably consider the fact that we live in a very sprawling city and there isn't a lot of effective means to get to point A to B with a short distance. And that's kind of something that's always bothered me, because I also live on the outskirts of town, but is also something that's far more systemic that would be more discussions had in the future. Other than that, I would say I would think of gas wells, because they're all across Fort Worth, also taking up a very surprising chunk of our annual city budget for us to maintain them, which is something that I found very intriguing. Because we're spending like, I want to say, a very solid, like multi-million-dollar chunk just to upkeep the gas wells and other facilities, and only receiving like $3 million in response, which is concerning. And I'm trying to find that in the budget right now. Is there anything else that anyone can think of, though? I think, or Stan, drought tolerant native plants versus water hungry lawns. That's an inherent component that I think we all need to consider too, because yards are not free or allowed to grow too terribly much, and the kind of diversity that we need to see for, say, having gardens in your front yard would be kind of a coding issue that would need to be looked at.
I've got an issue that's kind of not related, but it's related to the wastewater treatment facility that they're going to build in West Fort Worth. I mean, it doesn't really impact my neighborhood, but I know it's going to impact the whole Marys Creek area, and that will impact the Trinity River. I mean, I'm not opposed to the plant itself. What I'm opposed to is the volume of water that they're going to expel from that plant or discharge. 15 million gallons per day will just wipe out the ecosystem along that creek bed, where they say there are other options, like they could put in a pipeline to pipe it out to Benbrook Lake or another lake so that we could actually reuse that water. So to me, I think that is another area we need to look into, because why discharge all that water? Why not reuse it, you know? And put it in somewhere where it's supposed to hold that much water, not into a creek that is usually like 2 inches deep. It's not going to take it.
Yeah, and I remember that project when I was younger, but I do not remember it getting a resurgence being back in the area that you're thinking of. What part of Marys Creek?
Well, this is over on the west side of town. I can send a link out on this one.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And Stan, I'm adding the links that you've been sending because it seems like they're pretty good starting point resources to kind of go in for landscaping here. And then you sent a policy scorecard, so which would be useful.
Can I throw out 2 ideas?
Yeah.
The group as a whole needs some visibility. We have a place on the east side of town called the Tandy Hills Nature Area. you might want to put together a field trip. It's something that can be done even with the virus because you're out in the middle of nowhere and everybody could stay 6 feet apart, do it on a Saturday morning, not at the crack of dawn, but before it gets hot. It's one of the things this committee could do during the virus where other committees can't necessarily get together because everybody would be out and it's right up your alley. And Che, I've told you about, and they just expanded it by 52 acres because they incorporated Broadcast Hill. So now that is protected as well. It might give you some visibility that the committee needs to grow. Because I think this committee needs to be 40 or 50 people large because everybody seems to care about the environment, you know. So if you care about it, get on board and help us. The other thing I want to tell you about the session, the state session will go into effect January 2nd. If there is particular legislation that you're going to want to try to find a sponsor for, either a House rep or a state senator, you need to start putting that together now so that after the general election, the people will start working in their offices. We can find a particular legislator to help sponsor whatever it is you want to get as part of law. So, but that will move rather quickly. I know we have a lot going on with the general election and the current election, but we can't forget that the state legislature will go into session on January 2nd and they will hit the ground running. So, and sometimes it takes the entire 5 months to even get a bill out of committee and get it before the right person's eyes. So if there's something that you all are adamant about, I encourage you to start working on that now. We can get some legislative administrators to help get the wording correct. There are 2 or 3, one in Nicole Collier's office and one in Ramon's office, and they can help you write the correct language to get that, and then we can start going shopping and help to find sponsors for it. Unlikely, and Che, I think I told you this story. Nicole Collier actually started the legislation on the red light, the automatic stupid ass red light thing, and she needed a co-sponsor, and she got Jonathan Stickland, the only bill he ever passed, and she let him take full credit for it. Who cares? It got passed and it got done, and the day after the governor signed it, there were crews out taking those damn things down. So things move quickly, so we need to be prepared for the legislative session coming up. I know January 2nd seems like a long way off, but it's not. Especially if we're going to start finding sponsors for whatever it is you're wanting to get passed. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, thanks a ton. That was, yeah, very insightful. Thank you very much for sharing. We'll make sure, I mean, that'll kind of be a component as we're going through drafting various ideas or things that we need to see or that we want to see legislatively speaking. So that will be, see with that information, is there anything else that anyone wanted to look at while we're still discussing the topic of sustainability, or did we want to go ahead and move forward a little bit and discuss moving forward plans that we have? And thank you very much for the link, Stan.
Yeah, I say ready to move forward.
Okay. So we, as a good point of action, I think are, let's see, I feel like August would probably still be way too hot for us to try going out to Tandy Hills. Does everyone that's here now feel that as well, or would you feel September probably the best? I would be okay with August. I'm just concerned that the weather is kind of questionable heat-wise sometimes.
It's still going to be hot. There's no doubt. If you do it in the morning, you'd need to do it on a Saturday morning. If If you do it in the evening, you can do it any weekday night, about 6:30 or so. We do have a precinct chair that lives across the street. We can kind of use his house as a home base. He's quite familiar with it, so we'll get him on board to help us with whatever. So to reiterate, if you're going to do it on a Saturday morning, you need to do it on a Saturday morning. If you're going to do it in the evening, then you could do it a weekday night. It'll be a little warmer, but you might get more people. But the sun goes down. But I'm here to tell you the sunsets are a whole lot prettier than the sun rises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm for September personally.
Okay.
Anyone else have a say here?
I agree. September would be less hot.
Okay. Awesome. So we can go ahead and make our September meeting will be in just saw Stan's message. So our September meeting we'll go ahead and hold in the Tandy Hills Nature Preserve, and we'll kind of discuss further with the precinct chair in the area to kind of see what we can set up on his end. And
so the second Wednesday of September.
Yes.
Is what we're talking about.
Yes. Would everyone be able to make a 6:30 in September, as far as they're aware, on that second Wednesday, which will be the 9th?
I think so as of now.
Yeah, and I'll put him on notice, and yeah, that'll work real well. We can meet there and just literally walk across the street. What you want to do is you want to advertise this to the point that it brings people out.
Right.
So because there are a lot of people that they don't know about it. Jay, you're one of them. You've lived here all your life and you've never been there.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I would love to put it in the SD12 newsletter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That'll be awesome.
And you can create the event on Facebook and we'll start getting it out there, Yeah. When we did the thing with Broadcast Hill, the neighborhood association, we invited Melt Ice Cream. And he set up and sold ice cream there. I'm not opposed to contacting them and see if they want to come. If I think we can make it worth their while.
Yeah. And we can look further into advertising in other avenues as well as we go forward.
Sure.
I think what would be...
Would a weekend be better then if we want more turnout? Because usually after work is kind of tough for some people.
Yeah. Do we still want to try having it in the evening as well, or do we prefer doing it in the morning?
My suggestion would be Saturday morning, but because after a day full of errands and whatever I'm doing, then yeah, that's totally up to you.
I agree. Saturday morning is a good day for a hike.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll do that. Let's see, third Saturday, I guess that would be. Oh, wait, give me 1 second to let Heather back in.
You can do the second.
So the 12th?
Yeah.
That's the women's club meeting, but I don't think you're going to get any of them.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm in that club.
Okay.
But that's okay. I can skip it. I'd rather hike.
Yeah, I'm in that club too.
They're gonna do Zooms from now till God comes back. So
Yeah. We can Zoom on the phone.
that's true. I haven't done that yet, but I know you can. I have that option. Saturday morning, the 12th.
Yes. Say about 9.
I'll have Greg reach out to Don Young. He's the chairman of the Tandy Hills, and maybe get his people on board with our people, and his people are our people. In other words, they're all Democrats. I don't think there's a Republican in the group. So he can invite them, and maybe we'll pick up some members to the committee.
We can invite the women's club too.
You could. I mean, you could invite everybody, you know. Cowtown will be there. Greg will kind of be the anchor. Yeah, it's Saturday the 12th will work.
And I was thinking from like 9 to noon, we don't have to stay the whole time, but just being able to kind of be out there. We can have a meeting for solid like 30 minutes or so, and then just kind of go out into the preserve and just be kind of in the area until about noon. That sounds all right.
Advertise at 9 to 11 though, because people don't want to go, oh my God, I can't commit to 3 hours. So back it down. You know what I'm saying? If people want to hang around, that's fine.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Do 9 to 11 on the September 12th. Sounds
And you'll want to blast that out the day after your August 12th meeting. Don't confuse the two. Well, I guess you could, since it's a totally separate event, I guess you could put it together now and start getting it out there.
Okay.
Your meetings aren't Facebook events anyway.
Right.
So yeah, you could do that. People will start getting it on their calendar. That'll be a good time too, because the plants will have started changing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there's this whole winter group of plants. Who knew? Certainly not me. Oh yeah, somebody put the thanks, whoever did that. Stan, was that you? Thanks. Yeah. He put the website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there are, Tay, you and I will work on inviting Kelly Ellen Gray and Ann Zeta.
Okay.
That might help. And let's see if we can get Ramon's butt. He doesn't live but 10 blocks from there. Let's see if we can get him. Him and his girlfriend like to go hiking. It's right in the middle of Nicole's area. I'll help you with some dignitaries.
Okay.
That might generate some interest. Hey, you want to talk to your city council person or your house district rep? Here's your chance. They'll be there. Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. I think for those of you that have not been there, I think you'll be impressed. It's really a pretty cool place.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out.
You know, if you like weeds and mosquitoes and all that, yeah.
I mean, nothing says nature like random plants and flying animals. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right. And oh yeah, Kina, that's a great idea. And we could even, if we wanted to, we could arrange like a component of it would be doing a trash pickup. So that way we'd offer like a secondary benefit for the area as well as us using it.
Okay.
And that would also give us more like what it would be for volunteer hours time wise.
And you'll have to put that together. I will tell you that as a resident out here, any of us that go over there, we always take a trash bag and we just pick up if we see something. That's just, the whole neighborhood does that.
Yeah. And thanks for coming, Diana. Good rest of your night. Yeah, we'll be wrapping up here.
Thank you. All right. See y'all soon.
Have a good one. Okay, so next order of business would be, is there anyone that would like to work on the social media? That is something that I have been wanting to establish, but also do several other social media things and don't want to get too confused with it. So is there anyone be willing to, I mean, we can do collective posting, just not, the main thing would be, so what would it entail would be running, we'll make a Facebook probably an Instagram and then a Twitter account, and it would just be posting at least once a day. We could work on doing certain things to kind of work on templates and whatnot. The main thing is just starting to have more of a social media presence so that we can have that secondary form of outreach. Okay. Oh, awesome, Stan. Okay, so we can work on that after this call ends, and we'll just get that set up. And then on the, let's see. So on the Slack that I sent everyone, I had it set up for everyone to put their interest. I think, let's see, not everyone that was at the last meeting is here this time, and not all of you that are here. Actually, I think all of you were here last time as well. So from the poll from that, I'll go ahead and double check, and then I'll add you to each component group. So there's the social media group, which some people showed interest in the last time. So I think those might be people that are not here today. And then the legislative group, which would be focused on doing like more drafting and everything when it comes, once we've established more working on legislative action. If you feel that your skill set better enables you to be more on the lobbying end, that also works out, or just providing any research that you potentially have behind you would be great. And nothing really else past that for today. The next meeting, I'll be looking into trying to get a speaker, and then we'll be working on having various members of the Fort Worth leadership come out to our September meeting. And I feel like I had one other thing that I had planned to discuss, but it's not in any of my notes or on the top of my head. So let's kind of open up the floor now to everyone to say any final remarks before we head off, and then we'll be good to go. Stan will be contacting you a little while after the meeting.
So Chayton, are we going to have a spot where, I don't know, kind of like Facebook, where people post things or put events so that we know what's coming up, or we can go back and say, oh yeah, there was this link to this article. I wanted to go back to it and find it. So, because I'm not that organized these days, there's just things going in many different directions. And it's nice to have one place where you can go find everything that we're going to be working on.
Right. I was hoping that would be what we'd be doing with Slack, because it kind of allows for us to do that. So you can actually, I don't know about the events component. I haven't tried that in the past. But we can post things in there to be able to post links to share with one another, or for us to post to share with other people. And yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking that since there aren't too many people using Slack, more people are using Facebook than Slack. So if we want to use it also as a media way to get people interested in what we're doing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely misinterpreted what you said. I thought you meant from like a workspace perspective. Yeah,
well,
from the
yeah, like a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. From the front end, yeah, I would be hoping to have at least all three major platforms for us to use. It looks like right now we'll probably, I guess I'll start the other accounts and then kind of look at things that can help be daily media posts for it to kind of slowly start posting things, and then just have events set up. And then as more people come on, then we can kind of start putting those people on social media if they would like to be.
Okay. Yeah, because I really like, I sent out an article to you about STAR, the Reuse Council, which is about, they do different things about different organizations that are reusing, upcycling, recycling, and making things a little bit more sustainable. And I've seen that there for San Antonio and Houston. I haven't seen something similar here in Fort Worth, and I think that would be a great thing to get organizations working that direction.
Yeah. I'll definitely look into that further.
Once you get your Facebook account, I would certainly recirculate whatever the state party the state caucus is putting. Just repost, just have somebody follow that and repost it on your Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah, it's not too difficult, and it kind of helps align state and local. Okay. Is there anything else? Anyone have any good closing thoughts rivaling our discussion? Okay. So I'm really glad that we're all coming together for this. It was amazing to see how diverse of a group we have. I'm really excited to see what all of us are able to do together, especially considering how diverse our background is of knowledge. So yeah, I can't wait for us to have our next meeting. And next month, hopefully we'll be able to get a speaker. Otherwise, it'll be more focused on probably just be doing another presentation if all else fails. But should be hopefully able to find someone. And then again, in September, we'll be doing our meeting at Tandy Hills. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming, and we will keep in touch. Again, the Slack channel is open. Is everyone able to see that, or should I just repost that once again for us to be able to get that?
I saved the chat. I can pull it out of the chat later and try it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and grab it one more time just to keep it on everyone else, because I think a couple people came in after I'd already posted it. Okay, there we go. And once you have that, once you've gotten the Slack good to go, then you are free to go about your night. I'm really glad that you all made it again, and I look forward to our progress.
Great.